So greetings, everyone. Welcome to another Live on ServiceNow webinar. Today's session is an overview of DevOps Change Workspace. It's more or less a repeat of the session that we ran in March, about 5 months ago. There is a little bit of new material, but essentially it's the same presentation. So we will kick off. Okay, so a safe harbor notice, just in case we talk about any features in the product that are not yet delivered or that are coming on the roadmap. Please don't base any purchasing decisions on any forward-looking statements. But all the features and components of the product that I'm going to discuss today and show you are already there in the current version of ServiceNow DevOps. So just to remind everyone that this is one of a series of live on ServiceNow events. And we have a number of interesting events that are available for folks to join in showing different parts or different products within the ITSM suite. So if you scan that code, that will take you to the list and you can register yourself to attend one of the other events. I will also put that link in the chat. I'll just grab it and copy it. So that's there in the chat for you. Just some housekeeping. We will have time for questions. I won't be able to see any questions until I stop sharing. But please, if you have any questions, do pop them into the chat or into the Q&A function. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll have some time where we can have a discussion and you can unmute yourselves and ask questions verbally if you want to. But please post everything in the chat and then we'll have a look at them when I can. Also, this presentation is being recorded and it will be posted to our community page. And after the session, you will be given a survey to get your feedback so we can improve how we run these sessions. A little bit about me to start with. So my name is Mike. I'm based in Melbourne in Australia. I've been with ServiceNow for about 14 months. I'm an outbound product manager in the ITSM business unit, specializing in DevOps and change. So we'll kick off today with a poll. This is to understand your current knowledge and understanding about DevOps Change Workspace. So I'm going to launch the poll in Zoom. If you don't have access to use the poll in Zoom, please do put your response into the chat so we can collect your feedback. And I'm just going to launch that now. Okay, so if everyone can provide a response about what you know about DevOps Change Workspace, and we can gather some stats. I'll give this about 30 seconds for everyone to respond. Another 10 seconds. And I'm going to end the poll and share the results. So we can see most people on the call don't know anything about DevOps Change Workspace and you'd like to know more, and some at the start of their journey. So that's great. That's perfect for our session today. So hopefully by the end of the session, you will have a better understanding of what it is and how you can make use of it. Okay, thank you for your feedback. So before we launch into what DevOps Change Workspace is, I just want to give you some context about the ServiceNow DevOps Change Velocity product and the value that it provides, and why we need it as customers. So when we talk to our customers, a lot of them are saying that their DevOps teams are very busy, and they're trying to scale DevOps in their organization and trying to deliver features to their customers faster and safer with less errors. Essentially, that's what DevOps is meant to provide. But when it comes to the change management process, we sometimes see some issues which are blocking a customer's ability to scale. And that's mainly due to the DevOps teams, or the development teams, and the operations teams not having access to the same tools, and therefore not having a shared view of the data. So for example, a developer is in their own tool or set of tools where they're coding, and they're delivering code and running their CI/CD pipelines and deploying that code. And then from a change management point of view, if that process is not automated, they often have to swivel chair into ServiceNow to manually create changes, which slows them down and is often seen by developers as an overhead. So that can cause issues. And then on the operational side, from a change management point of view, the folks that are looking at the changes often have difficulty understanding what is being changed and who's changing it and why it's being changed, because they lack the data and they lack the context, and they're reliant on the developer to copy all the relevant data from their DevOps tools into the change so they can understand exactly what is being changed. This can often result in a lack of compliance. So sometimes developers can bypass the change process altogether, which is not desirable because they just want to get on and do their job. So if you look at the personas involved in this, we can see that the change manager is being confronted with an increasing velocity of change, and having to make sure their regulatory compliance is continued to be met. But they don't want to spend time manually gathering data and doing all the back and forth between the developer to understand what's being changed. They just can't manage the volume. It's just not feasible. From a governance point of view, most organizations need to make sure that they're meeting their IT controls and they're able to respond to audits and governance. So we need to, how do we make sure that we are compliant and we have traceability and visibility of the changes and the data associated with those changes? And then if things go wrong, how does operations make sure that they have visibility of what changed and what is the potential root cause of an issue, and then resolving that issue when it happens by understanding what changed and what needs to be backed out? From an engineering management point of view, those development teams are looking to make sure that their teams are performing and that they have visibility of the value stream that is being delivered in terms of software updates. So they're looking for insights into that. So what we do with DevOps Change Velocity to address those issues is, our approach is to say, let developers stay in the tools of their choice, and we will integrate those tools into ServiceNow and bring in all the data that we need. So you can see on the left-hand side there, we have, through Integration Hub, we've got the most common DevOps tools. And what you see on the slide is just a handful. we have a lot more integration, out-of-the-box integrations available. But what we do is integrate with the tools. So Jira, GitHub, Azure DevOps, Jenkins, etc. And we bring in all that data and we normalize it into our DevOps data model. And that allows us to do two very important things. Number one, it allows us to automate the change process. So in the middle there, you can see we can use that data that we brought in to understand exactly what is being changed and determine whether, for example, a change can be automatically approved if it has passed the criteria that we define for automatic approval. So, for example, was the build successful? Did the pipeline pass all the unit testing? What was the code coverage percentage? Did we have any security vulnerabilities? Do we have any current incidents, or are we in a change freeze, etc.? So that allows us to build a very good picture using that data and understand whether we can automatically approve the change or even reject the change. For example, if there is a security vulnerability, we might want to auto-reject the change. The second thing is it allows us to deep dive into that data and measure and track the performance of our value stream, of the development that is being delivered. And we'll go into that when we have a look at the Insights dashboard. So all in all, that will essentially take a lot of manual effort away from all those roles involved in the process. By automating the change process and by having the data automatically ingested into ServiceNow DevOps, the developer doesn't even have to log into ServiceNow. We can automate and trigger the change from their pipeline, so they can keep working in their own tools. The change manager is able to handle much larger numbers of change because the changes are being automated where possible. And there's a focus on policies and the focus on only needing to manually review changes that where it's required, where a change manager needs to have eyes on a change. Otherwise, for the vast majority of cases, those can be automated. So that allows us to have better governance and compliance and gives us traceability and visibility, and allows us to also have better mean time to restore because we're able to identify what changed. And if something breaks, we can identify how to fix it much more easily. So that's the context about the DevOps Change Velocity product. In addition to that, what we also support is an adoption journey for customers. So most customers are not going to jump in straight away and start fully automating their changes from day one. It's a crawl, walk, run journey. And the first step is to onboard your tools and your teams, connect those and bring the data into ServiceNow so you can get visibility of it, so you can baseline that data, and so you can understand what your current state is. And then as you move up that adoption journey and get more maturity, we're able to start doing change traceability and change registration, and then ultimately full change automation, which will provide us with the ability to fully automate our changes and achieve change velocity whilst maintaining the right level of change compliance, and allow us to ensure we get the right benefits from DevOps. So I'm going to swap over now to my browser, and we're going to talk about the DevOps Change Workspace. So what is the DevOps Change Workspace? What is this tool? What is it all about? So what we wanted to do with this workspace was provide essentially a one-stop shop for customers to bring all the different components together into one workspace to allow customers to set up and onboard and maintain their DevOps change ecosystem in one place. And the workspace will allow you to do that. Now we're going to dive into all the different components of the workspace, but we'll start here with these cards at the top of the screen that you can see, which is under a section called Getting Started. So what these cards are, sitting behind these cards are a number of playbooks which automate the steps involved in doing the setup and onboarding. So for example, over here, accounts and users, you're able to assign roles to the various people in your organization who are going to be the DevOps admins and the app owners, etc., and give them the access that they need. And secondly, you can assign tasks to people that you need. For example, if I've got someone in my organization that has the Jira administrator access and I need them to give me the credentials, I can assign a task to them and ask them to provide that data. But you can assign any tasks to anyone as part of the onboarding. The second important thing is about connecting the tools. So as we said at the start, we want to integrate all the DevOps tools with ServiceNow and bring in all the data. So we have a Connect tool playbook, which manages that. And we divide up or categorize the DevOps tools under these categories. So planning tools, as you can see there, for example, Jira, Rally, etc. We have coding tools, which is where our code repositories sit. So you can see some examples there. Orchestration tools, which are obviously the ones running our CI/CD pipelines, Jenkins, Argo CD, GitLab, ADO. Software artifact tools like Artifactory. And we have software quality scanning tools like SonarQube or Sonar Cloud. And a new one, which we've just released integration for, is security scanning tools. The first cab off the rank is Veracode, but we will be releasing integration with other scanning tools like Checkmarks, for example, later on. So all those are available for you to connect out of the box. In addition to that, we've got a playbook to create applications, and I'll dive into that and explain what that means when we go into that section. And then we've also got sections to automate change creation and look at how we can provide change approval policies appropriately to automate our changes. The other stuff on the front here is we've got some high-level metrics about the connected tools and about the inbound events that are coming in, the trends of that, any open tasks that I've got, changes waiting for approval, and the connectivity status of tools that I have already connected. So let's begin by looking at an example of connecting a tool and how that works in the workspace. So the example I'm going to use here is Jira. You can see here I've got a Jira instance which has a whole bunch of projects in it with the normal stories, features, epics, etc. in my Jira instance. So I'm going to connect that tool and bring in some of that data so we can see how that works. So let's click on Connect Tools and we'll select Jira. I need to give the tool a name. I'll just give that one a name. And now it's loading the playbook for the next steps to connect to that Jira instance. So it's asking me for some information here, which I'm going to provide. First of all, I need to provide my URL. So I'm just grabbing that. And then I need to provide my credentials, so a username and an access token. Just grabbing that. Okay, so we'll try and connect. Now the playbook, what it's doing now is it's trying to establish a connection with that Jira instance. And it's checking the permissions that user and access token have to make sure that the permissions that are required are actually set up with that user. So it's showing me the permissions that I need, and green is good. So I have the right permissions to be able to connect to this Jira instance. So I'm going to click next. The next step is if I want to restrict access to who can use this tool in ServiceNow and you know, the normal read, write, edit access to the tool, I can provide groups or users in terms of restricting access if I want to. I'm not going to do that in this case, but obviously that option is there for you in your own environment to use. The next step is about configuring webhooks. So what we want to do in an ideal world is we want to have real-time updates from Jira coming into ServiceNow. So if I create a story or I'm updating stories or issues in Jira and I have webhooks turned on, then an event will be sent to ServiceNow to update that data in real time. If for some reason you can't do that in your environment, or you're not able to do that for some reason, you can have a nightly polling job, which can be set up to do a nightly import of the data if you don't need real-time access. But we are going to configure real-time access here so that we can get updates as they happen. And that's obviously useful for making sure that changes have the right up-to-date information. And while that's happening, I just see someone has posted something in the chat. Is it wise to enter a personal name in the connection toolbox? Couldn't it be a non? Yes, obviously that I'm just using my personal credentials here just for the demo, but in your environment, you would use, you know, your system credentials or auth credentials. Okay. Just waiting for that to come back. Sometimes it can take a while. Hopefully that will come back shortly. We're almost at the end of this playbook, and just while that is running, I'll come back to that. I'll just quickly show you. So just to show you an example of what it looks like once you've connected a pipeline tool, an orchestration tool. For example, here is my Azure DevOps environment with my pipelines. And once I connect my ADO pipelines into ServiceNow, ServiceNow will build a picture of the pipeline, which is the same as what you see in ADO. And I can see the full pipeline execution history of every time my pipeline has run, where it's failed, when it's passed, etc. Now, we do have other webinars available that have been recorded, which dive into the detail of this and show you some demos. Obviously, this one is fully automated, so it's created a change for me, and it's fully automated that entire process. So that's just to show you the orchestration part of it. let's jump back here. This is not really working for me. Apologies for that. Just refresh it. Sometimes it does get stuck for some strange reason. Normally it goes through quite quickly. So what I might do here is I might cancel it and start again. So this is all this is all real stuff happening now. So let's go back. I will go into this tool. I'm going to delete it. So this is a good exercise showing you what to do if things don't work as planned. It's always this way with a live demo. Okay, so I've deleted that tool. Let me try that again. Hopefully this one works. Okay, let's give that another go. So connecting my tool, it's basically the same process for, it doesn't really matter what type of tool you're using. It'll follow a similar process to what I'm showing you now for Jira. So let's try that again. Okay, let me plug in my information. So my URL, my user, Jira user, and my token. Again, it's doing the permission checks, making sure the permissions are correct. Okay, again, I can restrict access to this tool if I need to. Just going to skip that part. And now we're back where we were. So let's try and configure the webhooks for real-time data updates from Jira. The suspense. Okay, so while that's running, oh, it's coming back. All right, let's see. Okay, so that's great. So it's discovered all the plans that I have in my Jira instance, 107 plans. Now I'm able to select which of these plans I want to track in ServiceNow. If I want to track all of them, in my case, I don't want to track all of them. I'm just going to track a couple. So I'll just select the ones that I want to track in ServiceNow. And those are the plans that we're going to track for Jira. Okay, and that has completed. So that playbook is completed. Now we can go and have a look at the tool to see what has been brought in. So we're going to have a look. Okay, so you can see here all the plans that are being brought in, and it ran an import request to go and discover all the data that's there. And we are going to be tracking just a couple of the ones that I selected. go back here. So you can see the ones that are marked as true are the ones that we are tracking. So what that will do is, just to show you, when we go and create an application and associate this with the application, it will bring in all the data. So let me show you the next step. So jumping back to our main workspace page, the next step is to create an application. So the applications dashboard, just to show you here, before we create the app. So this dashboard gives me access to all the applications that I've created. So what is a DevOps application? Essentially, it's a logical container linked to an object in the CMDB, and it allows me to associate plans, repositories, pipelines, all that data that's coming in. It allows me to select which data I want to associate with an application so I can track it. So let's go and do that. I'm going to create one here. Now I can either create one from scratch, or if I have an existing application model in my CMDB, I can associate my app with an existing application model. If I don't have one, the playbook will create it for me. So let's create an example here. Okay, so this playbook is run. It's created this entry, this logical container, this DevOps app. I'm able to associate it with a business application if I want to in the CMDB. And you can see here, I can then go and associate plans, repositories, pipelines, repos, etc. with this app to track it. And here I've got some recommended actions. So let's go and associate the plans that we want. So it's gone to my Jira data, and it's saying, which of these plans do I want to associate with this app? So I'll say, I want that one, please. Associate that plan. Now I can import the data that is available to me. You can go back up to 3 months. I'll say I want to go back 2 months to bring in all the stories, epics, bugs, etc., historical data from Jira into ServiceNow, into this app. So you can see an import request has kicked off there and is running. So while that's running, I'll just show you what we do with that data. Okay, this is another part of the workspace, which is called the Insights dashboard. So once I've connected my DevOps tools to ServiceNow, and I start bringing in that data into ServiceNow, it will populate this dashboard for me, the Insights dashboard. Now, this first tab here is just some summary data in terms of my overall high-level data. I can use these widgets at the top to filter how I want to look at the data, whether it's by an application or a specific repo, a service, business application, or even a product, or even work item types. If I want to look at a specific work item type, I'm able to filter that. But let me show you some of these other tabs where the real power is. So the flow metrics will show me how long work is taking to process through my environment. So for example, how long is from when I create a new issue or a story in Jira, for example, how long is it taking for that story to get deployed into production? So this is going to track that cycle time for me, flow time and cycle time. From a throughput and distribution point of view, I can see, for example, am I spending a lot of time, more time fixing bugs than delivering new customer features? And then what do I need to do about that? This is just sample data. So if I click in, it won't show me anything, but in a real environment, you can click in and get further details about that. Again, planned average flow time and how long a story is waiting in work in progress states. So you can dive in and find the bottlenecks by looking at this data. You know, what are they waiting for example, because wait time is something we want to reduce. For change acceleration, once you start automating your DevOps changes, this will allow you to track your progress for that work. It'll show you your volume, how long those changes are taking to get closed, automated versus manual change, how many changes are waiting for approval, etc. And then when I implement my change approval policies, I'm able to track whether the auto approval or the auto rejection policies are how they are performing. I can also plug in some data to configure the dashboard to look at savings. So, for example, you might say you can plug in dollar values for your developers in here to see how many hours are being saved by the developer not having to manually go and create changes once those are automated. So you can track the return on investment there. The accelerate metrics are the DORA metrics. So Google established the DevOps Research and Assessment DORA metrics to track the key lead time, deployment frequency, mean time to repair, and failure rate. Those are the 4 key DORA metrics which are now an industry standard, which organizations use to track how they're performing in terms of DevOps. So we track those out of the box in this dashboard, so you can see how you're comparing in terms of the rest of the industry. Quality metrics will get pulled in from your testing and security scanning tools that are from those results. So we can look at the quality of the code that's being delivered in terms of code coverage, in terms of testing pass rates, bug counts, any vulnerabilities that get picked up, etc. And then development will show us the developer's productivity. So as we saw at the start, you know, the engineering manager wants to look at this data to understand how their teams are performing. So you can see how many active committers do I have, active reverters, what's the frequency in terms of commits per day, who are my top committers, who are the top reverters, etc. My pipeline pass percentage rates. And importantly, do I have any commits that don't have attached work items? Because obviously that's not desirable. We want to make sure we do have a work item for any commits, so we're tracking why the work was done. And then finally, we have operational stability. So this is going to show me with the DevOps changes that are coming through, are any of them causing incidents? And are they any causing outages, and how is that affecting my service availability? So I'm able to track that all there. I'm just going to jump back here. And that was the Insights dashboard. So you can see this import request finished. And now I can see I've got my plan there. And you can see it started, it's imported I've only got a little bit of data here, but it's imported all the data that I have. So I can see my work items, my stories, etc., that have come into ServiceNow by pulling in that data. Okay, so the next part is we've gone through the homepage, we've gone through applications. The tools section is really just allowing you to manage the tools that you've got connected. So, you know, your planning tools, your configuration, your coding tools, orchestration tools, etc. That allows you to manage all those and make sure everything is set up correctly. Insights we already looked at. And then the final tab here is the administration tab. So the person that's looking after ServiceNow DevOps in your administrative capacity in your organization would use this data to understand, the health. There's health dashboards there to look at any errors and how the tools are being processed, tool connectivity. And then if you do have issues, there are error logs, inbound events, etc. There's a whole lot of properties that can be set and all the roles that are available there. So an administrative playbook. So all in all, what you have is in one workspace, as I said before, your one-stop shop for managing everything you need in your ServiceNow DevOps ecosystem to connect the tools, get started quickly. So get up to speed and get started quickly. And really that's what's driving this. So if you are a customer that has ITSM Professional or ITSM Enterprise, then you're entitled to the DevOps products as part of your licensing. So we'd encourage you to deploy into a non-prod environment so you can start having a look at it, and reach out to your account team or myself if you need any help. We'd be happy to help you with that. So just have a look. Let me jump back to my presentation. Oh, I see I've got a question here. Question from Ing Marie. How do you track what changes are causing incidents? Don't you need to attach a change to an incident manually? So great question. So what you can do, let me just find the right tab here. I'll just open this one up as an example to show you. You could actually automate that process. So for example, if my pipeline fails, I could automatically create an incident and attach it to the change. And it would come under this section here. Incidents caused by change is where I would see any incident that had been caused by this change. And that relationship is what you can use to report and track those things. So it can be done manually, yes. And obviously you'd have your incident process governing that to make sure the data is accurate, but you can also automate it through the workflow if you want to. Okay, so that's that one. Let me jump back to my presentation. Okay, so we covered this all in the demo, but when we send out the slides, you'll have this information with you. So just to finish up, I would like to run a second poll. And again, if you don't have access to the Zoom polls, please put your response in the chat to this question. Let me launch the poll. What is it? Sorry, just trying to find the right button. Here we go. Okay. Please respond to that one. And Scott, I'll see your hand. I'll come to you shortly. So looking for your feedback in terms of what you've seen. Okay, I'm going to end the poll in about 10 seconds. So please respond. Okay, ending the poll, sharing the results. So about half of you want to get more detail, so that's fine, all good. There's a lot more detail to this, obviously, and we have a lot of enablement material. We've got training, we've got other videos, we've got obviously our documentation. implementation guides. There's a lot of other information that's available, and the links to that will be sent out in the deck when that goes out. 3 people said they want to make a start within the next 3 months. That's fantastic. So very glad to hear that. If you need any help, please let me know. And 1 person said in the next year we'll make a start. So excellent. That's really good to hear. Okay, we will wrap it up there. Thanks so much for joining. Hopefully you found that useful, and you should see an email with the links and the recording link in the next few days. Thank you very much, everyone.